It's time for fun, learning, commentary, laughs, and more. Care of the most diverse group in the genealogy and family history world. Welcome to BlackProGen Live with your hosts, Nika and True, and the baddest panel in these pedigree streets: Angela, James, Linda, Alex, Ellen, Tony, Shelly, Teresa, Bernice, Felicia, Willie, Renata, and Tasia. It's Family History Research with flavor.
Hello and good evening, and welcome to your weekly dose of genealogy with seasoning with BlackProGen Live. It's our 50th episode, everybody. My name is True Lewis, and I'm your co-host for the evening, and I'm welcoming all of you from tuning in from all over and thanking you for taking your time out on this Tuesday night to talk genealogy and family history. So now I'm going to turn over the mic to your host, Nika Smith.
Oh, it's our anniversary. I guess it's supposed to be golden, right? I think it's supposed to be golden for 50. I'm not sure, but hey, y'all. What's going on? It's Tuesday, February 6, 2018, and your favorite genealogy crew is here for our highlight. We're having a highlight here. We got to celebrate our highlight. I didn't say for us to have drinks or something tonight. We should have probably did that. Libations should have been flowing. There should have been sparklers, all sorts of other things. But you know what? That's all right, because tonight's topic is Ask Mariah the Remix. Can you believe we've hit 50 episodes of BlackProGen? Wow. To celebrate this milestone and to kick off this year's Black History Month series, you're joining us tonight for a full episode of Ask Mariah, where our viewers will have the chance to have their research questions answered live. This is the quote unquote, can somebody do my genealogy for me? I wish I could be on Finding Your Roots. They don't ever let regular people do that. But you know, we're giving you the chance. And look at Miss Biddy. She's giving you the face like, send your question, baby. I'm going to answer it. So that's what we're doing tonight on BlackProGen Live. Taking care of housekeeping before we jump into the subject matter, of course, and introductions of our panelists. Be sure to join the conversation. Do you hate our new look and feel? Perhaps you have a question or a comment. Be sure to join the conversation now. Participate in the live chat on YouTube, which is taking place at the top right hand of the screen if you're watching on a computer, and at the bottom of the YouTube app on your mobile device. You can also weigh in on Twitter by tweeting us at BlackProGen or using the hashtag BlackProGen. Have you been like, man, I can't believe I missed that episode. I need reminders. Well, here is your reminder to set reminders. All you need to do is head to my YouTube page and click set reminder under the episode you're interested in, or simply subscribe to my YouTube channel and you'll get a reminder each and every time I go live. Since 2013, the Midwest African American Genealogy Institute has provided an amazing learning experience for genealogists and researchers. The Institute, also known commonly as Maggie, is the only African American focused event offering a total of 48 classes over 3 days, offering a comprehensive genealogical education experience of benefit for the beginner, the intermediate researcher, and the professional. Join us from July 10th through 12th, 2018 at the Genealogy Center at the Allen County Public Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana, for the 5th installment of Maggie, the Teaching Institute. For more information and to register, please visit maggieinstitute.org. All right, let's all be seen and take ourselves off mute. It's the 50th episode. I don't have my tambourine. I have a fan. But we are celebrating. All of our panelists are sporting their nice, swanky BlackProGen Live shirts all across the US of A. Yes. Let's get to introductions. All right, starting with the first person on my left, which is the lady in red, always, Angela Walton Raji.
Hello, everyone. I'm coming to you from the eastern seaboard on the beautiful Chesapeake Bay. I am coming to you from Baltimore, Maryland. Hello.
All right. Next up is Ellen Fernandez Sacco.
Coming to you from Tampa Bay, Florida.
All right. She is in the yay on the other side of the yay. All right. James, resident Y chromosome.
Good evening, everybody. James Morgan coming to you from right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Before I pass it on, I want to send a special shout out to Miss Tiffany Wilson. She was a friend of mine who unfortunately was murdered this afternoon by an ex-boyfriend of hers. And, I just want to say out to everybody out there, domestic violence is not the way. So please, let's increase the love and please pray for the family of Miss Tiffany Wilson of Newark, New Jersey. Thank you.
All right. Keeping them in your thoughts and your prayers as we go on through the evening and outside of it. I'm going on with the next person, Renata.
Good evening, everyone from Newport News, Virginia. Glad to see everybody out tonight.
All right, our resident Jesus Murphy.
Jesus, I love it.
It's because you have that. You just the way it's coming down for some reason. It's just really. It's just very
it's turning white. It's white.
Jesus really didn't have white hair, but you just look really angelic.
Am I looking old?
No. Distinguished, baby. Distinguished.
It's
Okay.
distinguished. It's distinguished.
Right
Family
there
tree
with you.
girl, Virginia.
She just looks like, to me, she's going to bestow a lot of wisdom on us.
Oh,
So
I'm
we just
about
need-
to do that.
Oh, she gonna drop that.
No, not my time yet.
Not her time yet. She's
She's
waiting. Teresa.
Teresa Vega, uptown near the Boogie Down, New York City.
All right. Next up is Tony Carrier.
Hello, friends. I'm Tony Carrier from the Center for Family History at the International African American Museum in Charleston, South Carolina.
All right.
The
Next
low
up,
country.
the Low Country.
Low country.
All right. Next up is she looks like she is free with her hair. Normally it's in a puff at the top of her head, but tonight we get the full 50th anniversary show hair, and red glasses from True Lewis.
Yes, I'm here from Kentucky. And it is just so good to see everybody out there in the chat room. I see all the viewers, and it's 50. It's 50. This must be my year. 2018 is my year. I am turning 50.
So it's her golden, it's our golden. We're a couple months early for her golden, but yeah, we're here. All right, last but not least, our resident Y chromosome student who is down in New Orleans, Willie Russell.
Hey everybody, my name is Willie and I'm calling from New Orleans.
He said he was calling from New Orleans. Oh my
So
God.
proud.
I'm so proud. Every time he comes, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of
He's
him.
got like 10 mamas.
He really does have
All
like
the
10
mamas
mamas.
here.
There's a lot of mamas here. All right, chat room, you guys are cracking off tonight. Hello, Sir Leprechaun.
I
Everybody
know
that's on Gen,
about
Gen
me.
chat. Yeah, say hello to Sir
Leprechaun.
Leprechaun. Yeah,
Hey, sir.
we've got Las Vegas in the house, Sacramento. Gosh, where's everybody
Kentucky.
coming from?
No,
Kentucky,
Tennessee.
Tennessee. People are saying,
Missouri.
yeah, people are saying they want T-shirts.
I know. I want the link to
They
order.
want the link before the night is
You gotta,
over.
you gotta tell them you gotta climb some high hills and go into some dark caves and walk in deserts and swim in the deepest of oceans before you get in. We'll see what you
I'm
out for
so
you.
mad. Nobody was hazed for these, FYI. They were not hazed for these, but we've been talking about potentially offering a viewer version of the shirt. So stay tuned, pay attention for that. So before we jump into content, because we have 5 questions that we're going to answer tonight live. Yes, Cinco. What's been you all some of your favorite moments in these 50 episodes of BlackProGen besides Chandler in the bathtub right now.
Well, I think he tops it.
Yes.
No, luckily, that I didn't have to drag him out kicking and screaming. Any other favorite highlights in the last years we've been doing this?
I think honestly my favorite moment personally was when I think it was the season before last when Willie was on, and it was like, and I kept doing the whole thing about y'all were replacing me because that was so spontaneous. And then it was like at the end he was like, yeah, James, I just checked, we're related. I'm like, it was just so spontaneous. It was like, yeah. So I would say, Willie, you made my day that time.
Oh, anybody else have any? One of my favorite highlights was when Tony Carrier basically gave us all a tutorial on North and South Carolina, and we were all just like, it was like she was like throwing resources.
Yes,
that was amazing.
Yeah. I would say selfishly, the 5 Civilized Tribes, because we never get airtime.
That was a great episode.
We had a lot of viewers that night too. Yeah,
we sure did.
Yes.
We sure did. Still do.
People still talking about that episode.
Yeah, they are. Anytime we have Shannon or Melvin on.
Right.
Yeah, buddy. Well, you know what? I just wanted to make sure we spent enough time, before we jumped into questions, just really appreciating the fact. We thank you so much, our viewers, for sticking with us for 50 episodes, for our crazy hijinks, laughing, our rants, whatever we do. You guys have been completely supportive of us. We thank you so much. And I want to personally thank all of these names at the bottom of the screen, like this one who always gives me way too many ideas on things to do when I call her, and I love it because she challenges me. And this one who is the most supportive person ever. You will never find a better cheerleader than Ellen Fernandez-Sacco. She literally has a pom-pom of every single color for every team. And then this guy right here who will be at the Library of Congress looking at papers and will ask you if you want him to look up something. Doesn't matter who it is. He'll just text you. And then this lady right here who, despite clothing malfunctions tonight, made it on. And who is probably the best Grammy going right now to a baby in New York. And this lady who I refer to as Jesus, who I love and is my road warrior. I love talking to her in commutes because we have the best conversations. We get the best ideas when we're both in the car commuting. This lady who has no shortage of words, who I could probably sit and read what she writes and get about 75 words of the day because she's just that much of a writer. And sometimes I can't find a prompt, but Teresa always has something to say, which is good.
Right.
This lady with the hair color that I'm thinking about getting, but I'm not sure, who's fearless and is basically charting new waters with the center that everybody's going to be really excited to go to. Who we absolutely love. And this lady with the crazy hair, oh Lord, how many laughs have I had with her? I wouldn't be able to do this without her. Willie, what can I say about Willie? That's my baby. That's like Chandler, but like 25 years older.
Yes.
And there are several other folks that I didn't get into. Bernice, oh Lord, what can I say about Bernice? That's a hometown girl. I love Bernice Bennett. She always looks out for me, always comes through in the clutch player. I'm telling you, if you need the sixth man or somebody hit that 3-pointer with 30 seconds left, Bernice Alexander Bennett will give it to you every single time. Gosh, I can't even. Tasia is awesome. I love her energy. She is the biggest promoter, I think, out of everybody in this group. She's always shouting out people. Felicia, even though she hasn't been with us very much, she holds it down for us. She really does. And I can't wait for her to have more time. And I'm trying to think of the last person. Oh, Linda. My baby. She's just always Diana Ross-esque for me. I love her gentle nature. I feel like she needs like a halo or just like a soft filter over her all the time. But Linda's awesome. She definitely is a great supporter. Who am I forgetting? Alex. I love how passionate Alex is. He is so passionate. That's something you can't ever take away from him.
Bernice.
I talked about her being the clutch person. I hope I don't forget anybody. If I do, please charge it to my mind and not my heart. But I wanted to make sure Chandler says yes. He's agreeing. He's agreeing. But this is an amazing group, you guys. And I love that we are older, seasoned, younger. We are We identify as Black, we identify as white, we identify as Boricua, we identify as female, we identify as male, we are gay, we are straight, we are whatever we are, and we are carving out a niche online that nobody else is doing. And so I just want to give a round of applause, and you all do not clap for yourselves. And I want to thank each and every one of you for trusting me through this process, because I know sometimes you probably were like, I don't understand why she blah, blah, blah. I know. But thank you for trusting my vision in this and for sticking along for the ride. And Christy, girl, I'm giving her a dap in the back because we love Christy. So yeah, and thank you, viewers. So all right, let's get into our content. I know Angela, look at Angela's over there like, if she don't hurry up and read the question, she is ready to go.
You ready?
We are ready, because they're like sharks, you guys. They really are. Like they're like,
we got it right here.
All right, here it is. This entire episode is brought to you by Biddy Mason, care of Ask Mariah. This is our time where our viewers get to send us their questions, queries, conundrums, whatever they are, and the panel proceeds to work them out live online. I always have to remind everybody that our panel has not seen these questions beforehand. So everything you're seeing, they're seeing it for the first time, and all the suggestions, everything. This is not something that we rehearsed like Justin Timberlake before the Super Bowl. There was nobody with like a thing, and then it was going to say, and Shelly's going to say right here, oh no, do you have a timeline? No, that did not happen. This is all fresh. All right, so if you are among the people who were selected, please make sure you let us know in the chat room so we know that you're here, and that you guys of course don't know which order we're going to do. The chat room is doing a drum roll. It's hilarious. All right, question number 1 is, I'm going to assume it's Milani, or it could be Melanie Gerald. All right, so here she is. I'm gonna actually stop presenting so that the channelists, if they have feedback or something, you all can see their faces. All right, so question: I am looking for the parents of my great-great-grandparents on my mother's line. So she's looking for maternal great-great-grandparents named Cherry and James McFadden. And her grandfather's parents, George Marvin Thomas and Fannie Moore. So there's a couple of different people that she's looking for. And panelists, feel free to mute yourselves until we get the question out, or I'll have to present to everybody and not show your faces. Okay. All right. So she's looking for them. They all are from Lydia, South Carolina. I wonder if Lydia's got a sister named Linda. I'm not sure. And it says they all from Lydia, South Carolina, lived in the Bishopville, Bennettsville area. So we do have some folks that are familiar with North and South Carolina research. And I'm not sure who Kanika. Oh, Kanika and Casey are in the chat room. So I'm not sure if Melanie is there. So we're looking for Cherry and James McFadden, George Marvin Thomas, and Fannie Morris, all from Lydia, South Carolina, and lived in the Bishopville, Bennettsville area. Next slide. She does not have any paperwork, and no one is handing it over either. Okay, she was clear. No one has done any genealogy research on these ancestors. She has taken Ancestry and 23andMe DNA tests. Okay, whoops, can't see that one. All right, so that's all we have. That's it. We've got 2 people in South Carolina, in the Lydia, South Carolina area. So what do we have? What do we have so far? Because I know you all are like, but that's not a lot. Nope, that's usually what we start with, right? Come off mute.
I'm off.
Okay, I'm going to just say that I'm very familiar with the McFadden family because the pastor for over 50 years of my family's church in Lewisburg was Reverend Hampton McFadden. And a few years ago, I did just a little research on him for someone who turns out to be his granddaughter from an outside marriage. And his family is from South Carolina. He came from South Carolina. So I might not have it all at my fingertips right this minute. I'm going to see what I can pull up, but this is something I can probably help with along the way because I believe it's probably going to end up being the same family.
Okay, we've had a request from the chat room. Sir Leprechaun wants us to return to the first slide. So let me go ahead and put that back up. She's looking for Cherry and James McFadden, and also George Marvin Thomas and Fannie Morris, from Lydia, South Carolina, lived in the Bishopville, Bennettsville area. And we'll put those names in the chat room so you all have it as well.
Well, in 1940, the census, they're living in Epworth, Darlington, South Carolina. James was born around 1885. In the household, it looks like it's James and Sherry. I believe it's their children and grandchildren as well. So 1885, let's see where he was in 1900. And he died.
We should go in order, census order.
While she's looking at that real quick, I think the basics need to be present here.
Mhm.
The basic genealogy. I know y'all cacking about my timelines, but the basics on what do you know? She needs to write this up. What does she know? Anything she's heard, anything she's even looked at, and start outlining that, you know, because other than that, we're going to be all over the place if she is, you know, not starting with the basics. So, and then probably hit, you know, the census and the local history and things like that, at least to start tracking them and find out if she's got any vital statistics records to back anything up, birth, death, marriage, wills, anything like that.
Okay, and I think that raises an important point, though, because this is a good query for us to start out with, right? We get questions like this all the time. And, you know, DNA, other things don't preclude going through the proper channels, the proper steps to do genealogy research, whether you start the tree online or whether you start it on paper, or maybe it's just up here for a second, right? You have to start with yourself, because here's the thing. You send us a query. How do we know these are your great-great-grandparents? If no one's done any research, right? And we don't really, and no one's handing you anything either, right? How did you get from you to back to this generation? And that, and sometimes will help you fill in blanks and will help you find people, is when you go through and thoroughly vet those generations between you and the ancestors that you're seeking information for. So I think that that's why Shelley sort of brought things back home was, yes, we've got this query, you know what I mean? We can rely on shaky leaves or maybe potentially associated records on, you know, Ancestry or whatever it is on Family Search. But you know, how would we know that we have the right Cherry and James or George and Fanny unless, you know, we've got additional supporting information. So we always have to go back to
I want to add.
All right, let's go with I think Teresa, and then Tony, and then Renata.
Okay, one of the things I was going to say, well, two things. One, I found his Social Security death index, born in 1882, died in 1968. But one of the things that I always do is I look to see if there are other people who have family trees with this ancestor on it. And I noticed that someone has a private tree. I would suggest that she needs to reach out to these people just to make that connection there, especially since it looks like it's the same family.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point. Sometimes people get so steeped in building their own tree until they cut off their arm at the elbow when they potentially could be reaching out to other family members, you know, and maybe they see the private tree as a brick wall, like the person doesn't want contact. And that actually that may not even be the reason why the person's tree is private. It may be because somebody was copying things and they were copying them to the wrong person. So they stopped making it available to the public for free. So we can't always assume that that's a roadblock. You know, definitely reach out and contact the person. I think that's a great point. And then Tony, you were next.
Yes, I'd like to mention two things, general resources for not only our viewers who ask questions, but also everybody else who's viewing as well. The Family Search Wiki is an incredible resource. And so one of the first things that I do is I looked at Bishopville and learned that it was in Lee County, and then went to the Family Search Wiki for Lee County. And there are so many resources there that you can avail yourself of right away to get started with your research. But the second thing is I'm seeing a death certificate for Cassie McFadden, whose parents were James McFadden and Cherry Gilbert. And so there may be a clue right there to Cherry's maiden name. You may find other documents that corroborate that.
I found one with that too.
You did?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I found one with Gilbert also.
Okay.
Yeah, so did Willie.
Yeah.
Okay, and I actually have the image here. I'll bring that up in a second. Bernice and Linda are in the chat room. Hello, panelists. And Bernice brings up a great point. This is going back to just starting off on the right foot, right? Because if you don't, you're going to end up in the genealogy do-over at some point. Like you're going to find Thomas and go, I can start this over. Oh my gosh. But this will help you stay on the right foot. And Bernice brings up a really good point. She said, what's in your house?
Mm-hmm.
Where's family Bible, photos, family stories, family, friends, going over to, as I always mentioned, that the nosy neighbor, the nosy relative, getting those interviews, that stuff is key to find out information. So let me go ahead and Renata, what you were going to chime in something?
Yeah, it's kind of sort of already been covered, but I was going to ask if the person was in the chat room, because I was going to ask what the line was from her to James. So in other words, who her parent is and so forth, if the person is, or his parent, if they're in the chat room, because so that we could kind of know if we have the right family as we're looking at things.
Okay,
do
we've got
we know
four.
If the person is there?
No, they are. Okay. I don't think they are.
I have not seen them.
Yeah, I haven't seen them either. This is so everyone can see. This is, who posted this? Tony, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me go back because I clicked myself out of sharing my screen. Okay, so this is for Carrie McFadden. This is a death certificate on Family Search. 16-month-old child. So this is an infant, died of pneumonia. Looks like Valentine's Day, 1916. Wow, 102 years, almost to the day. The name of the parents, James McFadden, born in South Carolina, Cherry Gilbert, and the informant is a James McFadden. So this may be a good lead. 3 more minutes before we move on to the next one.
I just found her mother's name. It's Grace Gilbert. And Cherry was born May 1884 in Swimming Pen, Sumter, South Carolina. Mother's name is Grace Gilbert.
Wow.
And she names a daughter Grace too,
and there's
so there's
no father listed.
Okay. Okay.
In the 1900 census record.
Okay, James, I think you said you.
I think I found an obituary for one of the daughters of James and Cherry, Emma McFadden Kibler, and it says here, this is from May 20th, 1977. It says, long story short, it says she died Wednesday. She was born in Lee County as the daughter of the late James and Cherry Gilbert McFadden. She lived in Detroit, Michigan until her retirement 4 years ago. And then it goes on to actually list who are the surviving relatives, this son, her siblings, and some of these names are ones that I'm hearing you guys mention again. So that may be something as well. I just posted it in our panelist chat. I don't know if you're able to pull that up, Nika, to show.
And I'm posting the one for Ned, and it actually has a picture of him. It's the son, Ned McFadden, and there's a great picture of him too.
Okay. I've got the clip.
Cherry, he's son of James, Jimmy, and Mrs. Cherry Gilbert McFadden.
And again, in the 1900 census, I would go back and start looking at some of those neighbors to see if there's any relationship there, because she's living amongst a lot of people with the surname Simmons. Just a thought.
So living with someone else, she's going to have to determine what that relationship is if she doesn't know if they were just boarders or is that family also if they're living with someone else. Nika, Sherry Hudson Passy makes a good point in the chat room. She said, depending on the time, Bishopville was in Sumter County and then Lee. The archives in Lee County as well as the state archives in Columbia may be helpful.
And Sumter is where Reverend McFadden was from.
Right.
Wow.
The one from Lewisburg. He was from Sumter.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I guess also consider how many other states or major cities some of the families moved to. So you mentioned Detroit. I don't know how many other cities there might be.
Right.
That some of the branches went to.
Yeah, there's a lot of them apparently that were in that went to Detroit according to this obituary that I found. So,
and there's another person who has a family tree with Grace Gilbert listed. So again, reach out to that person.
Oh, something I was going to mention about that, about when you find other researchers who are doing the family tree, a lot of times people will tell you who they are on their profiles, not necessarily about their name, but how serious they are. Because I noticed on a lot of these different ancestry accounts, people will have now, post on GEDmatch, or they'll have their kit numbers, or things like that will let you know that they're not typically the casual, just trying to use a trial membership type of person. So you may want to look out for those type of things. And I think on that tree that Teresa mentioned, that person kind of indicated that to me. So don't like Nika said earlier, don't look at it as a wall. Look at it as a opportunity to build a bridge.
And again, since she's taken those DNA tests, she needs to start triangulating and reaching out to her matches and seeing if they have the same surnames and ancestors and that sort of thing. And I would go again from fourth cousin closer.
And one quick thing.
Hold on. If she has potentially not started the research process as we're suggesting, how in the world does she know what triangulation is?
That's true.
We got to take a step back, right?
Okay.
I know what it is, but I'm no good at it.
Don't ask Angela. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Never.
Keep it simple.
I wanted to
matches.
I would chime in. I would say, sit in if you can't find a local class that you can go to on DNA, perhaps, browse the library of Family Tree webinars.com and find, an introduction to genetic genealogy, something that will teach you the basics of triangulation.
Go to my genetic genealogy page.
Either way, I'm just saying she's got to start at the ground level, and then you get to the area where, because yes, the test does a lot for us, but you also have to make it work for you. It's yes, when you're as small as my son, every shoe has Velcro, but at some point you got to learn how to tie your shoes, and they give you laces. Right. So that's basically what we're talking about. And I have one last thing to share, and I know I was gonna have to fight tooth and nail and treat you guys like Celia and Eddie in The Color Purple to break you up from these queries. Stop holding on to the post of the tree, clawing on for dear life. Renata wanted me to share this obituary that actually has a picture of one of James and Cherry's children.
And note that it says that.
Yeah, and the obituary says that he is the son of the late James, Jimmy, and Mrs. Cherry Gilbert McFadden. So this Uncle Buckney, that's Uncle Buckney.
And what I wanted to just say, I don't think James or I said it, but we probably came to the obituaries the same way by just Googling. So I'm not sure if anybody said that, but always Google because you can find amazing things. I wanted to also say that in the chat room, Shannon Christmas said, "Thou shalt triangulate."
I saw that.
That's my cousin Shannon. He says, "Thou shalt triangulate."
Once you find out what it is, absolutely.
But reach out to those cousins first.
That's right, and depending
do your
upon
genealogy first.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
and we did the basics.
And we also, like I said, we couldn't get to both questions because there's just not enough time in 10 minutes. That we really could have worked on this the whole show. So 4 minutes later, I'm pulling you guys off.
Okay.
We're leaving the store right now. Okay, don't kick and scream. Because we got to move on. We got 4 more of these you got to get to tonight. All right. Second question is from Lois E. Price. Question. My grandfather, Charles Emmett Price, died when my father was 11 years old, so we never knew him. I heard he was born in St. Louis, Missouri, and died in Fairmont, West Virginia. He may have served in the Army in World War I. She needs help finding out more about him and that side of our family. So we all have Charles Emmett Price, died when her father was 11 years old. So she never knew her grandfather. He was born in St. Louis, Missouri, died in Fairmont, West Virginia. He may have served in World War I, and she needs help finding out more about him and that side of the family. Moving forward, she has no information or documents that traces her grandparents. No one has researched that line. And no DNA tests have been taken. All right.
Well,
did he live in St. Louis? Or was he just born there and they moved away?
Let's see. I don't think Lois is in the chat room. So
I was going to ask, because my thing is, well, the information sounds good, but I was hoping we could get a reference to time period.
Yeah, we need places and.
Which is interesting because let's not forget that West Virginia is Virginia. And up until June 20th, 1863. So how far she's trying to go back, I'm sure it's not grandfather, but she keeps going back. If she can get there, she might need to hop over for records into West Virginia and the Library of Virginia.
At some time.
Fairmount, West Virginia, is what she said?
Yes. Let me go look at the map because I'm not familiar with that county.
See, I have a Charles E. Price that I found, but I got like several of them.
In Louisiana?
No, in West Virginia with the death records, but I'm not sure which one, maybe which, because there's like all different years. I got one that died in 1997, one in 42. Yeah, I mean, I got there are several different ones. I think
that's Marion County.
Yeah.
So where will we be starting the timeline at?
Exactly. And this is hearing yet
the
again,
first
right?
Census, the basics.
The basics.
Census.
First census. So we're talking. I mean, here's the thing.
I start with 1940.
Yeah, you can start with 1940.
Shelly, what county did you say that town was in?
Marion County.
Okay, I think I might have found a probate record. I think this is
and that's up in the northern part of West Virginia.
Yeah,
so a lot of times, just as a side tip, if you're up in the northern counties of West Virginia, you got to go into Ohio. Don't ignore it because they all flip flop and migrated in and out all up through that north part.
Sir Leprechaun has found, it looks like a World War II maybe draft card or something for a Charles Emmett Price on fold 3.
That's cool.
Okay, so that would put him born in the 20s, possibly the 20s.
Yeah,
maybe even the 30s. Does
do
it
we
have a birthday?
have a wife's name for him?
Is it Christine?
No. I think I found
because there's a marriage index. Yeah, I'm looking at the marriage index.
I've got a newspaper.
Charles Emmett
Okay,
Price
one at a time.
got married in Logan, West Virginia.
Logan, West Virginia.
Charles Emmett Price married in Logan, West Virginia, married a woman called Christine M. Lawrence, Laurence, and they married in 1952. I don't know if this is the same person. It's only an index, not a record itself. But if this is connected to that person, it might be something.
I'm not altogether sure.
Leprechaun found from what state?
He claims Fairmont, West Virginia is a World War II. It's something on fold 3. Doesn't say exactly what it is.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But he was African American, but he was born in West Virginia.
Well, we don't know any of that. What we have to go on, right? Her name is Lois. Okay. I'm assuming since Lois said that he may have served in the army in World War I, Lois was probably born in the 40s or the early 50s based on name. Now, that's an assumption because she didn't provide us with dates or a timeline. Okay.
What?
Now, what were you going to say, James?
I think I may have found a probate record. It says here, will of Charles Price, deceased, last will and testament. I, Charles Price, of the county of Marion, state of West Virginia, being of sound mind, and do hereby publish and declare following as my last will and testament. And then it mentions he had a wife named Goldie E. Price. I'm not sure if that's a relative or not, but I kind of thought it was interesting that it has the
Did
E.
have a son called Charles?
I don't know, but it says he died in 1932.
Well, yeah, this one.
Then he couldn't be in World War II.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I'm finding newspaper articles in the Charleston area of West Virginia for an attorney, a Black Negro attorney, Charles E. Price. Is Charleston, Shelley, on the map near the area that we're talking about? It's not?
No,
okay.
Top and low middle.
Okay. It's not going to be him then.
Yeah. Because if he went into World War II, he's going to have to be born in the 20s or 30s to go to World War II.
This
But
says
you said
World War One. This is World War
Oh,
One.
I thought, is that what, the record,
Oh,
right.
That's what the query says, is
Right.
he may have served in World War One.
Okay, so World War I, then you're talking a different age span then.
You're talking like the late 1800s, I would assume.
Right.
Yeah, it could be in the 1890s
1890s.
and through, because the war started when we got in 1917.
Which
I
would
remember.
make the will that James found
Possible.
possible.
Possible, yes.
Can you show
So-
that
Also-
screen again where you put
What
They
was
the
the-
listed, I
basic
think,
facts?
I think they listed the father in that will as well.
Yeah,
Is that
they did.
James Price?
Yeah. No.
Wait a
Is it
minute.
James?
Oh,
No,
I see the
no,
birth date.
It said William
30
S. Price.
April 1920. Whoever just posted that.
Let me show the screen one more time for everybody, okay?
Okay, now I was looking for something indicating a time period. Yeah, nothing giving us the time period at all, except World War I, not II. I heard he was born and died. He probably wasn't born.
If he's the one in the record that I found, it mentions William S. Price as being his
Right.
father,
Yeah.
who he left land to. So that may be something else to actually look into as well. If you can locate that land, based off this probate record, which Nika I just sent over to you. So maybe that could be a good lead for the person who submitted.
Mm-hmm. And his wife was Goldie. Price.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting
Yeah,
that there's all
I
these
think-
E's in the middle names. It's like Charles E. Price, Goldie E. Price. Our submitter was Lewis E. Like I don't know if that's coincidence or what, but that was kind of interesting to me.
And there's two witnesses that would be interesting to find out who they were.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go to that next page.
Let's see. Where's the chat? Where's the chat
Okay,
at?
so another question, I'm going to harp in and be so sick of this, but again, perfect example when the basics in that timeline needs to happen. Because even if she doesn't know which war, she's got enough information to play off of that, to try both of those that you're seeing, because the one had a birth date of 1920. One of you had posted that in our chat. That one that was born in 1920 definitely could have been in World War II. And but some World War I veterans also applied and for World War II as well. So I think that would discount one. And Beckley's up close. No, Beckley's south, closer to that area that Renata you mentioned about Charleston. Beckley's down around there too. So that was noted in what was just posted as well. So let's see.
You know something? I just found a family tree that I think. Well, oh darn, it's private. But I was looking at the the little preview that you can see, and I think that it may be the same person that that I was looking at. So I would also advise the person again to check on Ancestry and some of these other sites to see who else may be researching them, because I think I may have found a tree where they're researching the same person.
And you know what? Another thing is, I don't remember on that first slide if it noted if she had any oral history or anything that she could, you know, get something from somebody, another family member or something like that, you know, because we know the value of the oral history could be hints, might not have been, you know, happen that way, but the hints would be great. So let's see.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, there's a viewer who is claiming that they found the 1930 census with with a Lois in the household. But I don't know if that's the same person, because Lois is saying that it's her grandfather, not her father. So that,
And there was a junior senior earlier, one of your posts.
Yeah, there was
Charles Jr.
There was a chart, but she, like I said, she was asking about her grandfather, not unless Lois's father had the exact same name, but technically that would be Charles Jr. and Charles III if we're talking about her grandfather. So any final words before we move on to the next one?
There's I'm showing several family trees that list a Charles Price with a spouse Goldie Musgrave, Father William S.
Musgrave
Price.
or Musgrove?
Musgrave.
Okay.
There's several trees that look like they're public. So again, I would definitely look into those trees and contact those people, because I see many records attached.
All right. Anything else before we move on to the third one?
Let's go.
All right.
I think this is awesome. I love this stuff.
This is great.
You know, thinking of that. So I think it's awesome.
All right. Moving on to the next one, Viloria. Her query, I'm 24 years old, and my father, Victor, who is now 60, we got to age, do your math, has decided he is finally ready to find out about his biological father. From what I am told, he was Filipino and my grandmother is Mexican. His name was Santiago Viloria or Viloria. There was a large age gap between my grandmother and grandfather, and I just don't know where to start. My dad feels a sense of urgency, and I just need some help. I've tried asking questions to family, but family secrets run deep, and I am stuck. So we've got a paternal grandfather here who is Filipino. She was told, the grandfather was Filipino and Mexican, and that the grandfather's name was Santiago Viloria or Viloria, and that there's a big age gap between her grandmother and the grandfather, and she doesn't know where to start. In terms of what she has, she says the only document she has is a Mexican baptism certificate in 1956. No one has taken the DNA test, and no one has begun any research on that line.
Do you have a copy of that certificate, or was that? Okay.
Was there a location?
Any place in
Mexican?
Mexico?
No, a location.
Location to where she's from. Is she in the chat room?
She, or not even her, but where her
San
father.
Francisco?
Where? Can you go back to the first slide, Nika?
There is no.
There's no mention. There's no location mentioned.
Okay, so.
I'd say California.
Yeah, I was thinking Florida, California,
New York. It's possible.
Yeah, even Texas.
Southern Texas.
So for race, would that
Baja,
be?
California.
What's the race?
See, for this
Well,
one, I would go straight to DNA. We don't have any information.
Nobody's tested. That's not going to help either. She has to mine whatever information she can get out of her dad to kind of reconstruct a place and time of the family movement. I would start with that. And then if her grandmother's still alive, then pump her for information.
Yeah.
And I know
would
there's going to
find
be
out.
quiet silences.
What
This
did
person,
I
I'm
wonder what
assuming-
the 1956 baptismal record had for location?
Well, I have to assume, since she said that her father was 60 years old, and when she was sending this query, that her father had to have been born around 1956.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
she
that
said
would
60, that's-
correspond with the baptism. So if that's the case, right,
Yeah.
we're working pretty recent
That's
timelines
recent.
here.
So
And
where was the baptism? She didn't tell us.
There's no location.
But that's why I'm saying.
Question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
go ahead.
baptism was the grandfather or the father being baptized?
The father. He's
It's
looking
the
for his
father.
father.
he's looking for his
So
father.
I find only one Santiago Ignacio Viloria, and he's in I never know how to say this. Or is it Oaxaca, Mexico?
Oaxaca.
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 Yeah, I find him there in a couple of different instances, and he has a civil registration for his birth. And but I can't access it because I don't have the world.
Send a link
membership.
to me.
Send
I
a
got
link to
world.
Send a link to any
I
one of
may
us.
have just found Victor Vigloria's birth record, November
Where?
23rd, 1956, Northridge, California.
There you go,
Northridge,
Ellen.
California.
All right.
Yeah,
I
So-
told
straight
y'all. I
up from
figured it was going to have to
Mexico.
be Florida or
Yeah.
California.
or
Straight up from
California.
Where is Northridge? Is that northern?
by
or
the-
southern?
No, that's in
No,
Los
Northridge is
Angeles.
southern.
Oh,
It's
Los
outside of the
LA.
city.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
maybe
how
that
did you
would
get?
make-
Hold on. I have a question. How did you get Northridge? Because that's specific. That's not the county.
Because this is a U.S. Public Records Index, Victor M.
Okay.
Victoria.
Okay.
And it says, again, November 23rd, 1956. It gives a street, 18341 Napa Street, Northridge, California.
And her father
What-
is Victor, so that
Yeah.
that has to be
And
him.
she's
So
going
his,
by and he's going by Vigloria, not the other.
which is the surname that she goes through from, and her name's Victoria. So that would probably be her. But that's information for her dad. So what are the strategies that she could use to find out about this potentially Filipino and Filipino grandfather? Because the grandfather is supposed to be Filipino, the grandmother is supposed to be Mexican.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around.
Well, either way, she still has to get details. If she can get any kind of
Church.
details from her family.
Okay. Were they still creating city directories at the time in the 50s? I mean, they sort of were the precursors to telephone directories, but city directories often would reflect then the head of that household, which we might get even. Okay,
They don't
weren't
have that for LA. I think it would be
Okay.
telephone books, and that's already at a level in the 50s. Not everybody has a phone. So
Well, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
I
Well, and
would
how do
get
we
the
how do we
churches
know that
to-
how do we know that Victor was born in California though?
But we don't.
We don't.
But we're just gonna make a crazy assumption. He was born in California, obviously. Maybe he was conceived in California, and maybe Grandpa was around. But yeah, it's a tough one.
Well, and I'm looking at what Renata sent, and so y'all can look in there. It
Well-
looks like they're born in Mexico,
but that's
The-
1909. Isn't that a
That's
little early?
1910.
Which would be his father.
Right.
okay.
That's who he's looking for,
But
right?
he's looking for his father.
Right. And
No,
and then I show the next one in 1930. I don't know if you saw
Okay,
that
let me
one that I
look
just
at
said.
1930. Yeah.
Oh, Santiago is 21.
Okay.
And was there any female names? Because in the record, another one Renata posted, there is there's
Lucretia
20
Hernandez.
20-year difference to possibly the husband-wife based on the 1930 Mexico national census that Renata posted. And there's 20-year difference. Is she the one that just, didn't you say something about age difference on
Yeah.
that slide? And this one is, if it's husband and wife, the husband is
It's listed as
53.
mujer.
and the wife is 33.
33.
Yeah, that's 20 years. I thought let me sure.
Yeah, she said there was an age gap, but she also didn't say they were married either. So
that's true.
Right.
That's true. Well, this
listed
person's
as
last
his
name
wife.
is Hernandez.
Hernandez, but that's the Hispanic way right there. I think that isn't that right, Ellen? That so it's the father is Apollonio Viloria and the mother is Lucrecia Hernandez.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think she can't be Santiago's mother. But see, look at the difference. There's Santiago, he's 21. And then there's a baby that's 2. So that's probably a second marriage. She's probably not Santiago's mother.
okay, you said what was the name of the potential second wife?
Lucrecia Hernandez.
Okay, because whatever Alex found was a woman. It was a California County Marriages Index for a marriage to a Juanita Catherine Camacho.
Okay.
That could be, but we still don't know. So anything else before we wrap up?
No, I was just gonna say that 1930 National Census for Mexico, it is visible on Ancestry. I thought you couldn't get it. I was going to say, because I'm looking at the whole.
No, that's what I'm
family.
looking at. It's the civil registration that I couldn't see.
Oh, the civil. Gotcha. Okay. All right.
I think Shelley got it though, right? You got it, Shelley?
Which one?
The civil registration.
Let me go back in and look. I was looking at the census. Is it the one you just posted?
No, it was the first one. The one I couldn't do. It was the very first
the Santiago and born in 1910. That was the first one I saw.
I think so, yes. And which matches the 1909 in the second record.
Right.
Wow.
The registration date. And it has a father, mother in it. Apollonia.
Social Security.
That's the one.
All right, I'm tearing you guys away.
Okay, let's move on.
We still got 2 more queries to get through.
Let's go.
Yes, we've got 2 more. You guys see how attached? You see how they got all attached? They will not let go.
Well, I'm letting go. Let's go.
Moving on. Bring it on.
Come on, they get attached. You guys get
say
attached.
the word.
We gotta move on. All right, going to the next one. Kanika is in the chat room. She is in the chat room. The last 2 people are in the chat room. Okay, so Kanika, girl, I hope you are here. So please, girl, make sure. Yes, she's in the room. So just make sure. Well, she was here earlier. I don't want to assume she's here now, but girl, please be here.
Make some noise.
Right. Yes, she said woohoo. She's here. All right, great.
Okay.
So my 3rd great grandfather, Negro Prince, later Williams surname, was born in Kent County, Maryland, but freed in 1812 by McPherson and Bryan, owners of the Antietam Iron Works in Washington County, Maryland. So she's got a 3rd great grandfather named Negro Prince, later Williams surname, born in Kent County, Maryland, but freed in 1812 by McPherson and Bryan, owners of the Antietam Iron Works in Washington. Well, I can't even say that fast.
I know. Antietam.
Iron Works in Washington County, Maryland. All right. We've got quite a few slides for this one, so hold all horses and carriages, okay? In 1799, 16-year-old slave prince owned by Benjamin Hatchison, sheriff of Kent County, assaulted slave Isaac, owned by John Carville in Kent County. I want to find out more about Prince's young life. Was Hatchison his first owner? And were any of the Hatchisons 10 slaves, as per the 1800 U.S. Census, Prince's family members? What was the result of the assault hearing, and how did Prince end up in Antietam Iron Works before 1812? This is a great question, isn't it?
Great question.
It's a very great question. So she wants to know about his early life before he was emancipated. And this is actually a great query, because a lot of times people find out their ancestors were freed and they stop there. They don't think to go and research this enslaved life of their ancestors. They just hang their hat on the person being free, and that's it. But there's so much more that's there. So we've got 16-year-old who assaulted another slave, and somehow ended up with this business owning him. And she wants to know if these other slaves that are on the slaveholder census record, remember 1800, the slaves are on there, right? They're hash marks or potentially numbers, but not by name, okay, in these early census records. Next slide. She says she knows that he married Margaret/Peggy, a slave of the Joseph Ingram family, according to Ingram's 1834 will in Washington County, Maryland. But she doesn't know whether they met in Kent County or not. According to the 1868 distribution of Prince's will, their Williams children were Samuel, born in 1819, Henry, born in 1824, died 1894, Hezekiah, who was born in 1831, died in 1871. Otho, who was her second great grandfather, who was born in 1834 and died approximately 1888. And Margaret Elizabeth, who was born in 1839, and we don't have a death date for her. We're not done yet. There's more. So here's what she's found. And Kanika said, y'all don't come in here act like I didn't look. She found a 1799 Negro slave and free file, pages 26 to 30, which describe the assault. So don't come in here trying to find that, because she already found it. 1800 U.S. Census for Benjamin Hatchison shows 10 slaves. Freedom certificate in 1806 to 1860, Washington County files for Negro Prince. 1834 land record for Prince Williams in Washington County, Maryland. 1843 will of Prince Williams in Washington County, Maryland. 1868 distribution of Prince's will when his widow wife Margaret died. And I think I've got one more slide. Yes, I do. Oh, two more, believe it or not. Someone in her family has begun the process of tracing the ancestors. She is taking Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, and Family Tree DNA, and she's writing a book on her Williams ancestors. She says she has land records and probate records for Prince's adult life, but I yearn to find out more about his parents and siblings. Lastly, there were likely more children as listed in Joseph Ingram's young family of Negroes in his will. So there may have been more kids than the ones that she has. And I will, of course, recount details again, since this was a lot of information to share at one time.
You know, the first thing that comes to my mind after hearing everything she's researched is I'd be interested to know how much time she's invested in trying to actually contact any living descendants of the slave-owning family. I'm sure she has, but I didn't hear that, so I would just want to throw that out there as one major suggestion. Especially, you know, I don't know if she's local to that area, but I would definitely encourage her to do that if she hasn't already.
Right, and Antietam Ironworks is actually still in existence. I found their website, and they talk about their beginnings in Maryland. And they now are in Maryland and Pennsylvania, and they have a website, so you could actually contact them and see if they have any company archives or company records that they can point you towards.
And I think it would also be interesting to sort of follow, and I've forgotten the slaveholding family's name again, but first of all, there are a couple of things that happen. You have a freedom certificate in Washington County, Maryland, but the person was freed in Kent County. Kent County is on the eastern shore, and obviously there was clearly some movement to what, I don't know if you know the state of Maryland. It's kind of an odd shape. It starts out, you know, kind of drops down as a peninsula into the Atlantic, and then it gets real narrow around West Virginia, and then it drops again. County, Maryland is Western Maryland. So we're talking about really in the mountainous area. Geographically, it's different. It's different, but it looks as if they remained in Western Maryland, in Washington County. So some of the questions that she's asked Did the wife come from Kent County? Did he meet her there? That's a question that would really be difficult because that's a courtship kind of question. We don't know those kinds of details. And I don't know if that would be, unless recorded in someone's memoir. But DNA is probably going to assist, and just thoroughly researching that family. I would check to see if there's any indication, since they were free pretty early, especially as free people in Maryland, there's some other kinds of activity and exposure that they did have. And it's just kind of interesting to hear that and hear some of the questions. Definitely, yes, I would try and reach out, as James suggested, to descendants of the slaveholding family. Our research sounds really good so far, and but some of those things are not necessarily going to be found in a record unless one is able to find some family papers. I would
Okay,
look for some
I want
family
to.
papers.
I want to.
Hey, can you allow me to read her comments back, because you
Okay.
guys are going to bring up
Okay,
stuff she's
yes.
already talked about.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and scroll back up so I
Fantastic.
can chime in what she says from the chat room. Okay, let's see. Lots of people are telling her great job on the research, so I got to scroll through that. Okay, so she says Bernice is in there firing questions like you guys. She's got
Right.
she's just firing off. She asked if she's reviewed any papers on John Carville. She says she has tried but did not have much luck with that. Carville and Hutchison and Hansons and Briscoe seem to be friends or business related, so she has started looking at the fan club. So before you ask her about that, she has begun that work as well. Lots of info for Sheriff Hutchison, but land deeds and his financial debt. So it looks like she's gone through at least some local records at some point. Let's see. Bernice asked about churches in the community. She says that she has been to the ironworks already. She says they cannot find personal records, but a slave named Prince is included in many ironworking texts. She says
good.
Prince assaulted slave Isaac in Kent, but was not allowed to be tried in Kent County. She says that she cannot find how/when Hutchison sold Prince to McPherson in Antietam Ironworks. Let's see. I'm trying to find what else she wrote. Okay, that's the latest.
Now, I was just going to ask her something. I'm totally impressed with the level of research. Yay.
Awesome.
Has she looked at, I'm assuming she's already gone to the local historical societies, checked through their vertical files or something like that. There has to be more information out there.
And I'm going to add on that. I'd go to the local librarian in that area, to the local library. Them little old ladies up in that library know that local history. Seriously, just like the clerks. And I'd also go to the church, and I also would do Googling for this case to gather as much as she can. She's done a lot, which is very impressive, but you can find probate things have been scanned up. I don't know about Maryland, but I know Pennsylvania has theirs up, and I can go into Google Books and get the cases. So it's a long shot, but might be worth it. Ellen?
Okay. I'm chiming in because she answered that question.
Okay.
Said she has gone to the Washington County and Kent County Library and it has not been helpful.
Okay.
She says, but the Washington County librarians have been fabulous. The year of the assault was 1799.
Okay, so doesn't it seem like this would be maybe recorded in court records somewhere? I just looked in the family search catalog for Washington County for court records, and they have begun digitizing some of those microfilms. And in fact, they have digitized the microfilms for this particular time period, but it's one of those locked collections where you have to go into the Family History Center to view it. So it's digitized and you can view that online, but you have to be in a Family History Center to view it. But it just sounds like somehow this is tied up in a court case, and that is possibly related to how he went from one slaveholder to another.
One question:
Has she had any success at Annapolis at the Hall of Records? What what has she been able to locate, or has she had a chance to get to the Hall
I
of
need to
Records?
I need to expound upon what we were just talking about with Family Search. Family Search, if something that they had wasn't digitized, you were able to get microfilm, you'd order it, and it would come to your local family history center. They shut down microfilm circulation late last year. So what happens is some of the records are available online for free, and you can view them at home, but certain collections you cannot do that, and you have to actually go to the family history center that's closest to you and make sure that it is in a Mormon church. Don't just go to the ones that are on their map, because even mine that's local here, it's on the map, it's all nice, but you don't have access to the collections. You need to go to one that's within a Mormon church. Going there, and the way that you know that the collections are locked is it'll have a camera. And it will have a key on there. If it's just a camera, then you can view it at home. So you don't necessarily have to go to Salt Lake City to look at that. They haven't digitized all the films yet. Those that are not digitized have a little spool of film next to them. And as I recall, as I said earlier, you can't rent them anymore. They're out of circulation. So you would have to wait for them to be digitized. She mentioned, yeah, you can add something too. Go ahead.
Could I add that in the description it says that these records are originally microfilmed in Hagerstown, the county courthouse. So she may be able just to go to the county courthouse in Hagerstown and view the actual records.
It's public record. The courthouse, somebody's got that record, because that's especially when you're talking about a court case and things. So it's going to be up in the courthouse. It might not be scanned or anything, but again, go local, very local. Go right to Kent and the other county.
I thought part of what Nita read was that the case could not be heard in the Maryland court. I feel like she read that.
Exactly.
So I know some states had slave courts. I don't know about Maryland if they did or not, but it won't be in the regular court records, because she said, I don't know how she knows that or how it was found out, but that was part of what was read, was that it couldn't be heard in the Maryland courts.
They mentioned a lot of children. If the family had a really hard time, it's possible they indentured the children through the Maryland Abolition Society. I don't know if that's the right name. I forget. Pennsylvania had one, but I know there's one in Maryland as well, and there's a whole microfilm for that. I don't know if you can actually search just to pull the name, just searching, but I think you have to go in those records.
And there's actually a book called African American Manumissions of Washington County, Maryland, that is written by Marsha Lynn Fuller, that you may be able to obtain a copy of. And there is a copy held in the Family History Library, but that's in Utah.
Yeah, and they do not circulate books. So I just gave her the link to the catalog, and that actually is a great thing for everybody who's watching. So as Family Search digitizes their collections, a lot of those are not, like when you go to the main search page, that stuff is not showing up there. You need to go through the catalog. So when you go to search, go to catalog, and then look up the location that you're trying to find information for, and see what's been digitized, what they have available. And then that way you can always go back there and check to see if something has been added, or if there's something, if you are able to make it to Salt Lake, that you could actually go and research. She does mention that she has that book. She says it's amazing. So yeah. So I would the other thing I haven't heard, this is how you're supposed to research. This is how you're supposed to research. We're gonna wrap up because we've got one more person. The only thing I would throw out is newspapers. And don't just use one site. Look at Chronicling America, newspapers.com, Genealogy Bank. What's the Fulton County? Fulton History. And what else? 30 seconds, go.
I would search the counties around the counties that she talked about. Don't just look at what she knows. Check those other counties also for those records. Because if that was not held there, it might be in adjacent counties. So I would go that route too.
There might even be caches of papers at local university special collections, and don't miss out on those too.
Yes.
Yeah, and she said that she is going to Roots Tech, so that means she owes us all a hug. in person. We want to know. We want to be in the library when you start screaming.
We're filming that.
We are filming that. Okay, she said yes, thanks. Counties, around counties, universities. And she said she'll look at the catalog. She says thank you all with like exclamation points.
And we'll be
really
at booth 133. We need to know what's going on. Yes, we'll take the chocolates too.
Yes, and she said she's going to bring us chocolates too. That's great. We earned some chocolates. I'm sorry for everybody who's not going to make it.
That was booth 133.
133.
We're
All
having
right.
chocolate.
Last query of the night from Casey Mays. She's actually been on here before. This is one of I love Casey Mays. All right. So she says she wants to learn. Yes, booth 133, girl. That's where we're going to be in the expo hall at Roots Tech. Okay, so Casey, this is last Ask Mariah for the evening. She wants to learn about her great-grandfather, her mother's father's father. I have one picture of him. He was born in 1894, I think Crystal Springs, Copiah County, Mississippi, and died between 1957 and 61 in the, quote, Delta. I think Mississippi family says. So nobody really knows, but the Delta. We're just getting the Delta.
Down on the Delta.
Down on the Delta. All right. So here's what she knows. He had 2 children by Ethel Funches. And basically, it sounds like she doesn't know a name, but she's got great information for the remaining people. So we've got children by Ethel Funches. She was born January 8th, 1892, Crystal Springs, Copiah County, Mississippi. She died May 31st, 1973, in Cook County, Illinois. First child, Mary Ruth Foltz Page, born 1907, Crystal Springs, Copiah, Mississippi. Her death certificate in 1988 states her father's name was Wesley Foltz. Second child, Roy Foltz, or Page, born October 13th, 1911, Crystal Springs, Copiah County, Mississippi, died April 26th, 1997, Hinds County, Mississippi, or Jackson. Families say he walked off from Ethel Funches with 2 kids. Families say he went to the, quote, Delta. Son's school record with name as Roy Fuggs. Son's marriage license in 1930 was son's name as Roy Fudge.
Oh my.
Her harkens back to chocolate. Not sure if Wesley and Ethel were married or not. Both children took the last name of Ethel Funches' new husband, Marie Page. I've looked for census, could find nothing. He got married after leaving. When he died, then his then wife, I don't know her name, sent some stuff to his grandson, which was destroyed. So she doesn't have anything else. Last slide. These are her questions. What was his real name? Was it Wesley Futz? West Fuggs? West Futz? West Fudge? Where was he born? Where did he die? Where was he buried? Who were his parents? Did he have any other children? Why in the world did he leave Ethel and the kids? And was he married to Ethel, his children's mother?
His real name was Leroy.
He sounds, yeah, it sounds like my Papa Lewis story. Without the name changes.
Wow.
So there is a lot of Funches pretty much put in Hinds County, Mississippi. And I'm just looking at just the surname to see how prevalent. It's all over the place in Mississippi.
But see, that's the grandmother. That's not the grandfather.
Right,
grandmother is Funches. Yeah.
But you want to look at everybody.
Yeah.
And all of their names. And then I throw a piece of paper or board up on the wall and start trying to connect all these different places and names on where they're at. And maybe something would jump out at her, because that's not it might sound uncommon to some of us, but in Mississippi, that seems to be a regular name, Funches.
I actually have a really good friend who lives here in the DMV area, who's a Funches, and he's actually from Mississippi, and I'm 2 seconds away from calling him.
There's 340, and I'm looking under birth, marriage, and death records for the Funches, just in Mississippi. So, and what was the county again?
Copiah.
Copiah.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to see that in writing. I'll never figure that one out. C-O?
P-I-A-H. That's where some of my folks are from.
P-I-A-H. Got it.
Now I'm looking on our newspapers, and that Foltz last name, I'm not seeing a Wesley, but that name seems to be also be appearing in a lot of these area newspapers and whatnot. So maybe there is something to that.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
and
the
since we're-
newspapers.
I was gonna say, sorry, go ahead. Newspapers are good. And
Mhm.
I also would say, Casey, you already know we talked about this. Mississippi is one of those states you got to go there. You can't you know
Yes.
this it's not armchair behind your computer genealogy in Mississippi. Y'all know I love to research there, but they, especially death records,
Lockdown.
they hold on to them with their dear life. So you may not be able to get down to Copiah, but you may want to hit the state archives in Jackson. And let's see, focus on pronunciation versus spelling. Always remember how they speak locally. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I think that's right. This may be Fouche, Fouche, which in Louisiana could be Fouché
Mhm.
instead of because it's sort of in that it could be Fouche.
Mhm.
This area, I'm trying to think of where in the world is Copiah. I think that's on the
Okay,
other side.
Copiah is around Brookhaven, Hazelhurst, and Wesson, because some of my folks are from up there. But I'm looking on the wiki now, and it says that Copiah County was created in 1823 from Hinds County, and the county seat is Hazelhurst.
Somebody we know is researching Hinds County.
Anybody in Mississippi is.
No, I mean, isn't there a city in Hinds?
Jackson.
Jackson. Okay.
Yeah, that's the state capital.
Right.
And this county is actually.
I lived in Biloxi.
This
you
county
lived in
is
Biloxi?
actually right next to Claiborne, which is Port Gibson,
Right.
which was a major sort of like hub, and it's not that far from Natchez, which to me would sort of potentially indicate that that there may be a connection to Natchez, and if there is, then that would mean that folks may have come from another area like Louisiana through Natchez, in terms of stuff like that. Bernice says that Casey is her cousin. She's on her match list.
Of course.
Of course.
Everybody is Bernice.
Everybody's related to Bernice.
Well, that solves right there. If Bernice Alexandra Bennett is her cousin, then that solves the problem right there. That's it.
So it looks like land and probate records.
Bernice will have her triangulated in a minute.
So it looks like in Copiah County in Hazelhurst, the land and probate records start in 1823, marriage records in 1823, and the local or perhaps state census 1830.
Yeah, I would also look at educable children's records to see if you can find anybody John Wesley, because that's the name, honey. That goes together. Like Michelle Lynn, and so the John Wesley is a greatest hits album for the Delta. I would JWW.
You said it's the greatest hits album.
And ask Bernice, how many people in my family are named John Wesley?
Look, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just laughing because I'm actually looking at a record of a John Wesley Foltz, and I was kind of thinking, it's like as soon as you said that, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, man,
find the lie. Raymond, Mississippi is that's Hinds County, isn't it?
I don't know. Pearl's in there too somewhere.
Yeah, and Linda chimed in from the chat room and said that John Wesley is the greatest hits in the Delta. I'm not wrong. I would look at the history of Copiah County and see if you can find, because she's talking. This is great. This is great grandfather. Speaking back to DNA, I would see, is there anybody on your page/Funches line that you can test, or someone that could stand proxy for your great grandparents, right? Where you can triangulate, you can isolate the DNA that comes from them. If you haven't traced your parent or tested your parent that this DNA comes from, you can, if one of the great grandparents, if great grandma, well, actually great grandma died, But if there's somebody else, like one of the other kids, somebody that you can test to kind of isolate that, so then that way you can sift through your results and see if you can, because it may not even be fudge or Fouché or Foltz or whatever. It may be something else. That may be what somebody thought they heard or thought that they remembered. But you've got some great clues, and remember, I have a cousin named Darlene, but her birth certificate said Dielene. Diel, lean, like lean on something, because of her parents' accent from Mississippi.
Yeah. There, Copaya has looks like a pretty thorough Copaya County, Mississippi genealogy and history network. They've got marriages, cemeteries, biographies. They got 1841 state census listed. And so they seem to have pretty much, pretty good website to search through. And I would look at the references that site uses. You might not find your people, but look at the references where people might have, submitted things.
And this is the old, I think it's the old US Gen Web site. I think that's what you're talking about, Shelley.
Oh no, I'm looking at their site, not the Gen Web.
Okay. And something else I would go ahead, Angela.
Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, I would say the other thing is wildcard searches might actually help you with this, with all the variations that you have. Like check, put FU asterisk. Wesley is a first name, and then FUL, because Foltz could be with an S at the end, a Z at the end, using that asterisk and using that question mark on your searches. Mississippi specific records, like I said, those educable children's lists may help, but that may not be, far back enough. I would maybe even at the state archives level, go through those microfiche of the birth or the death index and pull everybody from your county that has a last name that even sounds like these names and go through all of them just to see if there's somebody that pops out as a match.
Afrogenius is another place to hit in those forums, and maybe there's someone around the country that might be researching Hines or might even have some connection to those surnames.
I'm looking at the enumeration of educable children, and she mentioned that Mary, Ruth, and Crystal took the name Page from their stepfather, and I do see a record for a Mary Ruth Page, born in 1931, enrolled in school in Hines in 1937. And
not the same person.
Not the same person.
Born, was born 1907.
Okay.
And something else that sticks out to me too is the great grandmother's birth year and the oldest child's. It's kind of close. She would have been 15 when she had the first child.
And about what year was that?
That was 1907.
That wouldn't be uncommon then, I don't think.
But I mean, that's
even in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, but if you have a roundabout idea, because to me, for a 15-year-old girl, the most likely is not another 15-year-old boy. It's an older person.
Right.
So that might give you sort of ballpark where it is. But I for me personally, you're going to be on a wild goose chase. This is a cluster Foltz.
Yeah.
You've got a cluster Foltz.
I want it understood that I was on my best behavior tonight, but Nika is on one.
Not Nika.
Whatever. It's we're 50. We're 50. No, I
have a question.
DNA.
That's her granddaughter, Mary Ruth. She said, "That's her granddaughter, Mary Ruth."
Angela, what was it that you wanted to ask?
Who are you talking to?
You,
Angela.
Oh, to me. Okay, I didn't hear my name. I'm sorry. Okay, no, I was curious. Is he believed to have died in Illinois, in Chicago, in Cook County? Wesley?
No.
Okay,
Wesley allegedly died in the Delta.
I'm seeing Ethel Funches in Illinois, Cook County death.
She died there.
Yeah, with a spouse listed as Wesley Foltz.
Mm.
And a child listed as Mary
Okay.
Newsom. Any
Because I saw Wesley,
SOME.
well, looks like
She
Finch,
she
who died.
died
He
in
was born in
88.
Mississippi, 1906.
If
Mhm.
she died in 88, then
Right.
that's the child.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that my prediction earlier was right. I'm looking in the chat room and I see Miss Bernice Bennett saying, "Wow, she found another cousin with the Funches surname from Raymond, Mississippi." I told y'all, Bernice is her cousin. That's the answer right there. I bet you Bernice come back like 3 days
Might
from
be
now
right.
and has the whole history back to the Old Testament. I promise you.
Well, since this is the last case, who's everybody gonna play in the play of Wesley Foltz? What role is everybody gonna play? If we're gonna act it out as a 3-act play, who's everybody gonna be? Shelley is gonna be the voice from on high, clearly. Bernice put she was laughing and she's laughing out loud, and that's true. Just Casey, just let Bernice do it. No, actually, I would still get that cousin on that side tested just so you can isolate those results, and that should be able to give you some answers and connect back with us and let us know what happened with that. So with that, we're getting ready to go into current events, but we just got to remind you. Here at BlackProGen Live, we are here to help you with your brick walls. If you watch tonight, you notice that if somebody didn't provide us with a lot of information, there was only so much we could give them back. So if you are interested in Ask Mariah, be sure to list out every single thing you've done to try to find whatever you can find. Sometimes that's all you have. Sometimes you may just forget. So feel free to check the description of each and every episode of BlackProGen Live for the link to submit your case for Ask Mariah, and perhaps you will be selected for the next episode of BlackProGen Live. Moving into current events, of course, there is no way that we could do this without talking about the Clotilda. The wreck was allegedly found in Alabama. Relying on historical records and accounts from old timers, AL.com may have located the long lost wreck of the Clotilda, the last slave ship to bring human cargo to the United States. We believe. I'll just add that caveat on the end. What's left of the ship lies partially buried in mud alongside an island in the lower Mobile Tensaw Delta, a few miles north of the city of Mobile. The hull is tipped to the port side, which appears to almost completely buried in mud. The entire length of the starboard side, however, is almost fully exposed. If you haven't heard about this, head to Google pronto. The video of it is absolutely amazing. Is there anything you guys want to chime in with before we move on about this?
I would just say, the descendants of the Clotilda are very active. I mean, everybody kind of saw, I guess, Questlove, his episode on finding your roots. And, if you go down to Africa Town, those folks down there are very, very conscious of that history. So, I hope that this kind of brings a little bit of healing to them specifically, but especially for those in Alabama or who have relatives there like myself, or, just people, period, to have that history told and retold. And this is a material reminder of that history. I always kind of wondered why hadn't it been found earlier, but I'm happy that it's been located now.
I think it's also important to mention, the ugly history that's going to be exposed when the archaeological evidence comes up. You can't hide this, and hopefully there's a lot of evidence left. So I pray that those people, they'll know what happened.
Well, the ancestors is calling it out, and it's evident in the last couple of years how things are surfacing up besides all the chaos that goes on. But the ancestors will definitely lead that discussion.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to go as smooth as possible and keep it honest. And, I don't want a whole lot of hands in the pot, as they say, because we've been waiting for this for a long time. We've been hearing about this story over and over again, and we got to keep on repeating it. But I just wanted to be done with dignity and respect along the way. And I'm glad that the ambassador from Benin went there and helped with the part of the healing with all of that, because Alabama's close to my heart. So and that Lewis last name. If I ever find out Cujo is part of me. I don't know what I do, but I'm glad that this is going on. So
I've really enjoyed reading some of the accounts from the descendants and just, reading how the stories were passed down in their oral history. Something I don't really have in my family. So I just think that's such a treasure, and I've enjoyed reading those accounts.
All right. Moving on to the next one. There's a new book coming out. Many people know that Thomas Jefferson had a long-standing relationship with his slave Sally Hemings, but fewer know that they had 4 children, 3 boys and a girl who survived to adulthood. Born into slavery, Sally's daughter, Harriet, boarded a stagecoach to freedom at age 21, bound for Washington, D.C. Her father had given her $50 for her travel expenses. With her departure from Monticello in 1822, she disappeared from the historical record, not to be heard of again for over 50 years when her brother told her story. So this is what is up in the new book by Catherine Carrison called Jefferson's Daughters, 3 Sisters, White and Black in Young America. So we just wanted to make sure that we shouted that out before the night is over. All right. And gosh, we've got 25 more shows left to get you up to speed on all things people of color genealogy. So be sure to visit whoisnikasmith.com for a downloadable schedule so you don't miss an absolute thing here on BlackProGen Live. And as far as our next episode, of course, we're entering the Black History Month series, which means that you lucky ducks get to see us once a week through the month of February. Researching the formerly enslaved is not impossible, but can be challenging and take time. Learn the nuts and bolts of researching this segment of our ancestors, the emotional aspects of the search, and how it can add breadth to your family history project. Join us with a special guest we are going to have, and I've got to come off for this. We're going to have Chris Haley. Sizzle, 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 sizzle. Haley. Zero in on that name.
Did y'all hear that?
Like Haley Marshall?
The nephew of Alex Haley is joining us next week on February 13th. Same time, same bat channel. So you do not want to miss this. And Chris Haley isn't just Chris Haley. Chris Haley actually works for the Maryland State Archives and is in charge of a huge project that I've used in my own research. It's just, oh my gosh, I wish Louisiana had it. So you do not want to miss our next episode, which is the 51st one of BlackProGen Live, taking place Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Antoinette Harrell is a peonage detective and who has spent countless hours in the National Archives in Washington, D.C., conducting peonage research in Class 50 peonage litigation case files, 1907 to 1973. The Class 50 litigation case files were created or accumulated by the Civil Rights Division in carrying out the Department of Justice's responsibilities in matters arising under statutes implementing the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which means that if there were issues where people were not given their rights and they were still subject to policies and other things that were not, they just weren't allowed to be free. That's what she's that's what she's researching. Okay. And this is after 1900. Notice those years, 1907 to 1973. Wow. Many African Americans were physically forced or sometimes beaten to return to former employers to work off their debts. The files contain correspondence, memorandums, telegrams, newspaper clippings, transcripts of testimonies, FBI reports of investigations, and indictments. Listen to Left Behind, Peonage and Involuntary Servitude with Antoinette Harrell on the latest episode of the long-running Research at the National Archives and Beyond, hosted by BlackProGen Live panelist Bernice Bennett, this Thursday, February 8th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Also check out the 425th. I got to come back on camera for this. 425 episodes. 425. This is not a new podcast, okay? And I know Bernice has just as many shows. We got to give Angela her props because they recently released a list of top podcasts or shows, and they weren't even on the radar. Weren't even on the radar. So I just,
but they did get questioned about it, though.
Mm-hmm.
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 But the
All
beautiful
right,
thing
so
about it is, that they're on our list, and that's what
right.
Yep.
yes, they
There
are
you
on.
go.
They are on
Thank you.
our list. All right. So, 425th episode of African Roots Podcast with its host and Black Pro Gen Life panelist, Angela Walton Raji. In the latest episode, her and Black Pro Gen Life panelist, Jesus Shelley Murphy, discuss a recent conference in Laurel, Maryland, and more. Are you heading to Roots Tech? Don't miss Black Pro Gen Life panelist sessions and a chance to meet your favorite YouTube live crew in person. Shelly, Tony, True, Alex, Angela, Bernice, Tasia, Willie, and I will be in the house for all things tech and genealogy. Be sure to chat with us to get a Black Pro Gen Life ribbon for your badge and stop by the Expo Hall booth 133 for the Midwest African American Genealogy Institute just to see what we're up to. Be sure to get the lowdown by Black Pro Gen. Subscribe to get the collective feed of our blog posts, radio shows, podcasts, Black Pro Gen Life episodes, and more. Look for the subscription link in the description of each and every episode of Black Pro Gen Live. Don't forget to join the conversation. The live chat is flying. Don't forget, grab any links, whatever else you need, love connections, whatever's in that chat, you better grab it because it's going to blow up in a puff of smoke after the show is over. Also, maybe there's something we suggested tonight we forgot about. Maybe you decided you were going to look for Prince Negro Williams yourself and you discovered something and you want to get it to Kanika. Be sure to tweet us at BlackProGen, hashtag BlackProGen as well. All right, True, it's your turn to take it away, ma'am. Is she there?
Alrighty. Yeah. Can you hear me, Nika?
We hear you.
Alrighty. Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining Black Pro Gen Live tonight, and we appreciate you coming out. And I want you to keep the conversation
Black Pro Gen Live. Black Pro Gen.
Everybody out there. We'll see you next Tuesday.
The unapologetic Black and people of color viewpoint. The place where evidence tells the stories.